Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special bonus episode. Today, we're going to talk about how to change your career from non-tech to tech. And of course, a topic of a lot of interest to our Scrum Master listeners. We have a lot of Scrum Masters changing from non-tech to tech positions. And our guest for today is Mariana Trigo. Hey, Mariana, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. That's true. Thank you, Vasco. Happy to be here once again and to speak a little bit about the evolution and how are things today in our marketing technology for our agilists.
Absolutely. So Mariana has been a guest on the podcast before. I'll put the link to the previous episodes on the show notes so that you can go and check it out. Mariana has moved from biology to retail to technology. She started as a Scrum Master in technology in a software agency, growing later to be an engineering manager, and help teams to deliver more and better while enjoying the ride was her goal. In 2021, she created Tekya, a company that helps professionals moving to tech without coding and to be able to leverage their careers. Her mission, make your job a tool to build your dream life. And I'm sure we're going to dive into that. What does dream life mean and so on. But first, Mariana, how did you get started helping people transition from non-tech to tech roles?
Well, I usually say it was out of shame. Back in 2021, my career in technology had revamped quite well. And I started to understand that we had on one side a lot of professionals that were really dedicated, that enjoyed their jobs, but their professional area was not really rewarding them salary-wise, quality of life. And that won't probably happen in the next generations, mostly health sector, education sector, security sector. And on the other hand, there were a lot of tech companies that were really looking for those kinds of professionals, right? That are dedicated, that put themselves, their entire self into their job. And so I thought, why not combining both? That's basically my story, right? Moving to tech from biology, from retail. So little by little, I started helping friends, people that my friends knew, and help them move to a career into technology. And eventually that became a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it becoming a business is already something of a sign. That means there's a lot of demand. Is that how you experience it right now, that there's a lot of demand from people that want to move from non-tech to tech jobs?
Yeah, I would say more and more. I think COVID, the pandemic, also helped a bit because we understood that at any point in your life, things can just change dramatically, right? And when you get to a point, usually our audience starts 27 years old, 45 years old. So when you have around 30s, you start thinking, all right, so I want to buy a home, I want to live together with my partner, I want to have kids, and my career will not allow me this. I already tried during the last 5 or 10 years, and I see no progression here, at least not the kind of progression that I need. Or when you are around 40s, you start to think, well, I never tried something else, so it's now or never. And I do believe this is increasing, and we see more and more professionals looking for other options. So I do believe that we will see an increase in the people that want to move to other careers, technology being here a great option, because we do know that the majority of tech companies offer you very good conditions salary wise, and also that balance that we are always searching for, right? Your professional life and your personal life.
And when you work with these people that are transitioning from non-tech to tech jobs, what are some of the most common challenges that you see these people face when they go through this transition?
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I hear the most. And I do think the answer, it might not be very obvious, but it's for sure themselves. So I usually say that we are our biggest enemy. So limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome are usually the major obstacles when someone is trying to change her or his career. because they tend to believe that they have nothing to offer to this new role. They have nothing to offer to this new professional area, and that's not true. And if they don't believe themselves, how will they convince a company? How will they convince a hiring manager, recruiter, that they can add value to that company? We had a student that told us she was feeling like the company was doing her a favor because they wanted to hire her. And this shows what's the obstacle number one, right? Ourselves, not believing in ourselves, not believing that we will be able to add value and bring that addition to the company. So I would say that's obstacle number one, people.
Now, we are going to talk about these 5 different strategies that you have developed in your coaching and mentoring at Tekya. But let's start with something that we very often talk about here on the podcast, which is, of course, developing your soft skills, the first step in your 5 strategy list. From your experience, what are the key interpersonal and soft skills that individuals wanting to do this transition should be aware of and should develop themselves?
Yeah, let's start with the soft skills. Yes, those I truly believe those are the first ones to train. I have a sentence, I heard it from a product person recently, which was hire character and train skills. And I do believe in this. So to point out some of the soft skills here, I would say the first one would probably be communication. This is a major one because you'll have to communicate with your team, engineers, you'll have to communicate with your product owner, engineering manager, other Scrum Masters, other agile professionals that you have around you. So you'll have to set those expectations. You have to make sure that your communication is clear and they really understand what you mean. On the other side of communication, of course, you have to be a good listener, right? You have to ideally be able to read between the lines. And you will need that a lot as a Scrum Master, because sometimes it looks like things are working, the feedback is not really there, but there's something hidden that people are not telling to the group or that people are not telling yourself. So be careful with that. Besides that, I would say probably conflict facilitation would be a major one. There's always some conflicts in the team, and if you don't have it, well, that's strange because people usually have different opinions, different ways of leading. So it's normal and it's healthy to have conflicts, but it's important to be able to understand how can you get to a positive point, because in the end, everyone in the team is pushing, driving towards the same goal, right? So they can have different opinions, but we need to bring them together and to show them that we are all working towards the same goal. 2 more here to complete. I would say we hear a lot about the servant leadership, and I tend to see that some Scrum Masters fear a little bit the word leadership. It's, I would say, automatical to have this. You are not their boss, you are not their lead, you are not making the one-on-ones like an engineering manager, but you will receive that leadership automatically if you are able to organize the team, to plan, and in some way you are telling them what to do. So what will be the best process, and that has leadership behind. So yes, try to be humble there, but don't forget that in some way you will always be leading them. And the final one, I would say it's the key one that we always hear about: continuous improvement. And this is always our focus. People are constantly changing, the market is constantly changing, so you will need to adapt. And for that to happen, you need to focus on what's the smallest improvement that we can do here to make things a little better. Sometimes it will be to deliver more, sometimes it will be to deliver faster, even sometimes it can be to deliver slower, a little bit slower, because we do need to increase quality. But you will need to have like 10 eyes for that to make sure that you're able to see what's not working and what to do.
So when I hear you talk about the soft skills, and I agree with all of those that you mentioned, when I hear you talk about the soft skills that you see Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, or aspiring Scrum Masters and aspiring Agile coaches, need to develop, I hear skills that are, of course, we talk about many of those here on the podcast, But I also see that many of these are actually cross industry, right? Like the idea of having great communication skills. Of course, if you're working in a knowledge environment where the majority of the work happens between brains, right? Communication is going to be a critical skill. So
Exactly.
that's not very different than conflict facilitation and resolution. I mean, we hope to have some conflict in the team, right? Otherwise, they're probably not very motivated or even want to improve. Servant leadership. We all need to be leaders. Like this concept of distributed leadership in software teams or any knowledge work teams, and of course continuous improvement. So, do you see that these soft skills are an area where your students at Tekya they have trouble understanding why they matter and develop them, or is this the development of soft skills something that takes time, of course, and effort, but it's something that the students more or less accept and want to, take on in their own personal development?
Yeah, it's very connected to their own personal development. I usually say this is not just a professional journey, it's way more a personal journey. So it's totally different for us to receive a student that he or she already trained these skills. And I usually say that no one, if you have a professional background, if you have work experience, you're not starting from zero. That's not true, right? Because you already know what it means to be inside a team, to communicate with your team, with your stakeholders, with your boss. So a lot of these soft skills that we mentioned here, yes, you can revamp them, or at least you can start to clarify in your mind what they are and how do you position yourself. If you are calm enough to see a conflict happen and work on it and not avoid it, if you are calm enough to listen to people, to listen to other opinions that are different from yours. But in the end, you can learn this in basically any job, right? Independently if you are serving food at a restaurant, selling tickets, or working in tech. So those are much more personal skills that you develop throughout your whole life since you were a kid. So yeah, they are for sure common to a lot of different fields.
But of course, there are also some skills that are very specific from the technology world. So, can you elaborate on some of those? Let's call them hard skills that aspiring Scrum Masters and Agile coaches need to master.
Yes, yes. I pointed out three major ones. So the first one is pretty obvious because if we are speaking about Scrum Master, Agile coaches, we understand that this is a Scrum and Agile role, right? So as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, I do need to master what that means. The Scrum framework, the cycle, the words, the ceremonies, how long do they usually take, why are they there, what happens, who is leading, what are the tools, the strategies that are usually used inside Scrum. Those are basically the hygiene factors, right? If you go to an interview and if people tell you what does a retrospective mean and what's usually the dynamic there, you need to know this. So these are the basics. It's easy to learn. It's everywhere in the internet, right? Ideally a little bit filtered by the people that really know what they are speaking
And
about.
listening to the podcast, that's a great way.
Yes, exactly. And those ones are the ones that, they are mandatory and you do need to know them. The second one, I would say organization. And this one, I really want to put them in the hard skills area, because if you have a team of 6, 7 people, you will need to organize things. Also for them to know what's the plan, right? So you need to have an organized sprint to know what the backlog is. The product owner will prioritize it, that's fine. But then what will be the dynamic during that sprint? When will our sprint planning happen, refinement, retrospective, if things will change and why are they changing, stand-ups, etc. So you'll need to organize what your team is also delivering. Some Scrum Masters, some Agile coaches like metrics a little bit more. I do believe that's very interesting to bring that into your team, because we only usually a way to make people feel motivated is showing them their progress. So if you are able to show them they are delivering and they are increasing quality, our stakeholders are happy, we are delivering on time, well, that kind of organization will bring a lot of benefits to the team and to yourself as a professional, of course, because you will meet expectations. And the last one, it's a little bit trickier, I would say. It's around engineering best practices. So what does this mean? Usually I see a lot of fear around working in technology without coding, without understanding the tech vocabulary. But this is not true. You can and you should, I would say, understand some of the technicalities behind, right? Ideally, you will know what's an endpoint, what's an API, what's a push, what does commit mean, what's the release process, what are some of the tools that we use to send our code to production, how will the rollout go. So I would say this is even not only specific of technology, this vocabulary, this technical vocabulary, but it's even specific to the company. So every time you change to a new company, you will need to start from zero and understand, okay, so what are the words that people use here? So you'll need to learn that. And those things are included in these engineering best practices. Vocabulary on one side, and also the dynamic, what my team, my developers speak on a daily basis. And this is not hard to understand, right? Some operations behind how do the releases work, how the development of code happens in this reality, in this company. And with that, you will be able to speak with them to have a much more fluid communication. And they will also see that you are truly interested in what they are doing. So those would be the three ones that I would point out as major hard skills.
Yeah, and this vocabulary is very often also important to create this personal connection with the people you're working with, right? Because if you look at the people in the team with a blank stare every time they use a technical word, that's not going to help you, and it's not going to help them, because then they stop trusting that you know what they are talking about, and of course at that point they can't really accept that you can help them, right? So we need to learn this. So how do you recommend people who want to go from non-tech to tech industries go about learning these skills?
Yep. Well, if you are starting from any other area in your life, so meaning you are working in marketing, you are working in a hotel, a restaurant, education, health, and you are starting to think, okay, technology might be a good option for me, I would first try to understand what's the day-to-day role, okay, what's the day-to-day routine that you will have as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach. And then I would start understanding, okay, what do I need to learn? And we spoke here about hard skills that you need to learn, and we spoke about soft skills that you need to learn. There are indeed a lot of free resources on the internet, but I would say the danger here is always getting lost. So I would be looking for some structure there. A Scrum Master course, learning these basic hard skills, and ideally a program where you would learn also be able to revamp those soft skills. And that would be my first thing. So first, for a change, I would try to train my mindset, understand I will go through a change, and a change like this will demand some emotional effort, okay, some time dedication, and probably some money invested, all right, that will bring a lot of returns. You have to focus on that. The second step would be learning. So the first point is training your mindset. The second part would be learning these hard skills, these soft skills, and then building your professional identity. That's really, really a major one, because if people cannot understand what's the value that you can bring to the company, well, it will be very hard for them to believe you can do that change.
So
Then,
one thing that you mentioned that I want to dig a little bit deeper into is this idea that there's a lot of free resources on the internet, and you of course can go around and there's a lot of YouTube videos and so on, but of course it can be confusing, and videos don't talk to you, right? They don't tell you what you want to know. Like, you need a little bit of communication, maybe sparring or even mentoring. And you do that yourself. So how do people find out about the work that you do? Like, where do they usually go? Where do they search? Where do they find out that Tekya can help them do this transition?
Yeah, you're right, Vasco. So they can basically find us in our website, tekya.io, and in our Instagram with the same name. And yeah, we have a lot of resources, but we created Tekya because we felt people needed more structure and a process that was really organized from zero to IT professional. And we bring those two sides, right? We bring the hard skills, we bring the soft skills, but we also bring the mindset, the attitude, the emotional balance, and of course, all the support when they are ready to transition processes, recruitment, speaking with companies, etc. So yeah, we do believe people need that kind of support in every step of the way, let's say.
So you've also emphasized the importance of this professional identity, right? So you were just talking about transition when people are ready to go for interviews and so on. Of course, this is not something we should be developing at the end when we are ready. We need to start working on that even right now, as of today, right? You know, the best time to start preparing your LinkedIn page for a new job would have been a year ago, but the second best time is today, right? So what strategies do you suggest for individuals to be able to show their potential and, of course, to stand out to employers when they finally end up applying to these jobs?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say the best day to start is today, and that's one thing that will really help people to understand what their skills are to bring value to the tech world. So, if today you start revamping your LinkedIn, one of the major things you need to do is looking at each professional experience that you have and try to write it, try to think about it, read it out loud. It will help you out, showing what value did you bring to that entity at that time on that role. So if you were serving food, if you were working in a restaurant, what kind of value were you bringing? And it's different for me to say, well, I was working in a restaurant and I really enjoyed the team that I had and I did a little bit of everything. Well, you can say that, but you can also say that, well, I've been working in a restaurant for 2 years and I had a team of 10 people and we served more than 100 meals. And I had to deal with the people in the kitchen, the people on the room, the clients, some calls. So I was under a little bit of a pressure, let's say, and we had to focus that everyone in the team was able to deliver the food in time, hot ideally, and the right requests from our clients. So this is totally different, right? And if I show this on my LinkedIn as the first version, well, I don't think companies will want to call me, right? But on the second version, they will, because they will understand that I can adapt, that I can speak with different people with different roles, that I can work under high pressure, that I understand my clients' needs and I do attend to them. So this is totally different. And I do believe this is the first step to start revamping your LinkedIn and the step that will help you to have the confidence, okay, I will bring value to a tech company.
One other thing that I think is important to state is as we start learning, LinkedIn is also a great networking community, if you will. So like joining certain groups and interacting with other people. And one thing that I feel is an important step is like this, showing this ability to learn, like really asking questions from your peers, right? Like there are already lots of Scrum Masters who did the transition from non-tech to tech. Maybe there's a group around that. I don't know. At least maybe Tekya has a group in LinkedIn. And this is also a very important way to also learn from others that have gone through that transition, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually our fourth step, networking. So if you are trying to move to a new career in a new area, you have to speak with people that are already working in that area. You need to understand what's their day like, what do they enjoy the most, what they don't, if eventually there are job openings in their companies. So you need to build your network. And that means starting to be hug, and technology has that huge advantage, feeling the hug from the new area that you are trying to join. So don't be afraid. Speak with people, reach out to Scrum Masters, reach out to Agile coaches, any Agilist professional, and just share with them that you are starting to make a transition to technology. And if they can give you any advice. If they can share their story, people love to share their story, right? We do like to speak about ourselves. So don't be afraid, reach out. The worst that can happen is not having an answer. So that's an answer by itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And did Tekya, did you guys develop a community of people that have already done this transition? Where can people join that kind of community? Is it LinkedIn? Is it elsewhere?
Yeah, only our students at the moment. So what we do is first we create a community with everyone that is doing this transition. And then during the program, they are incentivized to do this reach out to people. And besides them having this initiative, being proactive, everyone that we bring to the program, so mostly every month or so, we bring new guests. And the idea is for those people to also become, in some way, mentors of our students. So they will have product owners, Scrum masters, agile coaches that they can reach out to help them to transition a little faster, to have that key point that we didn't touch, and then they can speak with that potential mentor that will help them out in that specific question or situation. So yes, a community, I would say community with people that are doing the same journey you are, and with people that have already done that journey is a major factor to keep you motivated and to help you go faster.
Yeah, you're never alone in that case, right? And
You're
that's a
never
very
alone.
important step, especially for career changes that might seem a little bit threatening at first. And that's quite normal because it is a new career, a new industry in some cases. And of course, at some point, we need to go out and try to find a job. So, what tactics do you recommend for approaching job opportunities and interviews in the tech sector, particularly for Scrum Master and Agile coach roles?
Yes, step number 5 and the last one, dive into the market. And it's curious that it's usually a very frightening step. We have a lot of students that are like, yeah, we already did the exam, we already did the challenge, but now I am starting to think about reaching out to companies. Well, that's an important step, right? Without that, you cannot do a career transition. So my strategies here would be to first search for companies that have products that you really feel passionate about. That will be a major drive. If you feel like they are contributing to our society, doing something good, even if it's not the company that you will end up working with, that's fine. You just need to understand how technology is impacting the world in a good way. And that will make your passion flow a little bit faster. So search for those companies, speak with them independently if they have job openings or not, and then start to filter a bit more. So let's see what companies are hiring. Let's read their job description. If you can reach out to someone that is already working there, do that independently if you know them or not. Once again, share with them, I am doing the career transition. I see that the company that you are working for has a job opening. Can you share a little bit what's the dynamic there? What do they value the most? What they didn't? They don't. And then when you are, okay, time to apply, there are 2 very important things here. The first one is making sure that your LinkedIn is revamped, like they will open your LinkedIn and they will understand immediately why and how can you add value to them. And the second thing, we still believe a lot in cover letters. We still believe that will be a very, very differentiating factor because you, in that cover letter, you will show who you are a little bit, and people need connection. People need to feel like I would love to work with this person. It seems like a nice guy, a nice girl. Then you will show them a little bit more like and lifting the veil under what's the value that you can add to them. What have you done in the past? Projects, major things that you accomplished with your team. And finally, the third step, like the last punch, is showing that you really understand the mission and you identify who you are, your values, with the mission that the company is trying to bring to the world. So those would be my strategies. Those would be my keys to start diving into the market.
Now, there's a lot of work, of course, and for those of you who are interested, check out tekya.io. I'll put the link in the show notes. Get in touch with Mariana. For those that maybe are just curious after listening to our conversation, not sure yet, but they really definitely want to know more. What's one resource you can share with those that are curious about this whole transition and how to get their next job in tech?
Yeah. Well, I would say the best resource is hearing people that already did this transition. Every time we have a student transitioning, we always try to have their success story for them to explain how was the transition for them. And that will show you how they were. So a little bit of how you are now, maybe not happy with your job, maybe not sure what to do. Maybe you're hearing like working in tech without coding. Nah. So on those success stories, you will hear them speak about their own experiences. So I was like this, and then I heard maybe I can get into tech. It was hard or it was not so hard. How was the journey of transitioning? How was getting into the market, being rejected or receiving a job offer? And how it is now that they are recently working in the tech sector. So you'll have the end-to-end journey in the words of a person that already did it. And I would say those are the best resources for you to understand what's the journey like, and to hear people like yourself. And once again, like Vasco said, you're not alone. Hearing them speak about the journey that they already did.
Absolutely. And we'll put the link to some of those success stories in the show notes so that you can go and start listening to some of those right away. Mariana, we're getting close to the end, but before we go, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yes. So our major channel is Instagram, so tekya.io, once again. And in there, we are every single day, we publish new content about the roles, about working in technology, about how the market is nowadays. So we also try to go with the reality that we have. And we do know that technology changes fast. So it's important to keep track. We have our LinkedIn also. We also post every week there. So it's the more professional path. So if you are already looking for job openings, starting to dive into the markets, that's the best channel you can go. And then our YouTube channel, where we post videos with our success stories, some classes, some free classes that you can also attend. So I would say those would be the three best channels for you to explore.
Absolutely. And we'll put the link on the show notes. On behalf of all of those aspiring Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, Mariana, thank you very much for being so generous with your time and your knowledge.
Thank you. And keep in mind, like Vasco said in the beginning, our mission is really to help you out, to help you understand that your job should be a tool that will help you build that dream life, the life that you really need at this stage of your life, because that will change. And if your job is not that tool, if your job is not helping you out now, well, we need to change that. So we are here for that. Thank you, Vasco. Thank you for your time as well.
We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.